What's up, guys? It is your boy Bernardo from the BTNHD, and yes, we are finally going to review the beautiful Lenovo ThinkPad L380 Yoga. Yes, Yoga and ThinkPad combined together to give you this somewhat awesome laptop. So let's get down to the review. All right, so looking at the particular L380 Yoga ThinkPad laptop, the first thing that comes in mind is the color. It's silver. ThinkPads are normally black, right? That's what I'm used to. The case material is actually made out of a combination of two types. The cover itself is made out of aluminum, and the rest of the body is made out of glass fiber reinforced polymer. So it's pretty sturdy, pretty solid. I don't recommend dropping it. I think if you drop it a couple times, it will survive. But if you like slam it against the ground, like slam it, it's definitely gonna crack. So one of the cool things I love about ThinkPads is that it has a lot of ports. For me, it's all about the ports. Now, for this particular ThinkPad, I was a little disappointed. It doesn't have the RJ45, that Ethernet port. Okay, it does have a Ethernet port, but you have to purchase an additional adapter for it to work. That kind of sucks. That means I have to purchase something. So if you have the laptop to the point that you're able to open it up, on the right hand side, let's take a look at the ports. So we have our power button. We have our combo jack, which allows us to hook up a mic and a headphone. We have a micro SD card, one 3.1 USB, and this is our Ethernet port. Now on the left hand side, we have one HDMI, an additional 3.1 USB port, always on charging. And we have two Type-C ports. And this one right here with the LED indicator is the one that you hook up your power adapter to charge it. On the back side of the laptop, you don't really have a lot of ports. The only thing that you have is your vent to keep it nice and cool. This is where all the heat is going to be produced when you're using the laptop a lot. Okay, so we went over the case material, which is based on a combination of two types. The cover itself is made out of aluminum, and the entire body is a glass fiber reinforced polymer. We went over all the ports and connections, but I forgot one thing, and that's kind of a shame because when I was testing this guy out for 2 weeks straight, I forgot that it has a active pen inside the case. So we're going to go over this active pen a little later, so don't worry about it. I did not forget about it. But what I really want to do is open up this laptop to see the awesome 13.3 display. It is full HD with a resolution of 1920 by 1080, right? Before we even start with the display, let's turn this guy on. And I want to take a closer look on the keyboard and the trackpad, right? Now let's talk about the keyboard. Now the keyboard itself is not backlit. Don't get me wrong, when you're turning on the machine, it does light up, but there's no command like the function key and spacebar to turn on the keyboard. No backlit. That sucks. Another thing I don't like about the ThinkPad L380, which I think on the site, on Lenovo's site, it's optional to add it. But come on, a ThinkPad should have this, is it does not have a fingerprint scanner. Another thing on the keyboard layout is the function key and the control key. This is a huge problem for me because I'm so used to having the control key here and then the function key between the Windows key and the control key. Lenovo does provide you an application to switch the keys over, but other than that, you know, that's an easy modification that you could do within the Windows 10. Now for the feel of the keys, it felt kind of nice. They don't feel flat. They don't feel kind of raised up like the original ThinkPads that I've tested out for you guys, but it's to the point that I could type and have no issues at all. I think the distance between each key is, if you take one nickel and a dime, that's your distance between each key. Now the trackpad on the L380 Yoga, I didn't have any issues with it. Super responsive, no stutter. It didn't stop on me. It didn't freeze. I'm kind of disappointed it doesn't have that little dash right here to tell you what's left and right. But other than that, it worked well. You do have these little guys up here, which is your left and right. But I really don't see myself using this at all. I always find myself using the trackpad the most. Okay, so we spoke about the keyboard and the touchpad. Let's talk about the display. Again, the display is a beautiful 13.3 full HD with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. It is glossy. It is multi-touch, right? Able to multi-touch it. Boop, boop. There you go. Awesome. Plus, with the active pen It's an additional bonus. Sometimes it takes me a while to take this guy out. Let's see if we could take it out. There we go. With the active pen is a bonus because you don't have to use the pen. Because I don't really like to use my finger all the time because it kind of like leave fingerprints all over the screen. Now at the very top you do have a webcam, a 720p HD webcam, which is awesome. And for the brightness, I believe the brightness is the high. This is the highest right now for the brightness, and this is the lowest. It's not really dark. I am still able to see the background, all the icons with no problem. Again, this is the brightest. If you want to talk about nits, I think it's about 300 nits. That's what Lenovo is stating on their site, that the display is 300 nits. Now, the only problem that I had with this particular machine is dealing with Premiere Pro. Don't get me wrong, this machine is capable of handling Premiere, Photoshop, Illustrator, which we're going to go over the performance a little later. But the problem that I had is this. See this guy right here? Green. Yes. I figured out how to fix this problem because I've seen this problem in other laptops that I did for you guys. I believe it was either the Flex 614 or the Flex 615 that I did for you guys. I had the same issue with Adobe Premiere. Now, to fix this issue, if you go to File and we go inside Project Settings, go to General, by default, it's going to try to do it with the GPU acceleration. Now, if you switch it over to Playback Engine software only, press OK, everything is good. The only problem is with this is that when you're rendering, you got to make sure you tell it to do software acceleration, not the GPU. Other than that, that's the only problem that I had on this particular machine dealing with Adobe products. I was able to run 4K videos as well as edit and render with no problem with the specifications on this particular machine. Now, the active pen with the L380 Yoga is an awesome addition. Again, it comes with it, which is awesome. And it's embedded in-house within the casing, and that's the reason why I kept on forgetting to review it for you guys. But for me, I kind of find it strange that this ThinkPad is a Yoga. It's like the Flex or the Yoga got with a ThinkPad lineup, and they kind of mashed it up, and they got together, and they made this little baby, and they just called it the ThinkPad L380 Yoga. I find it kind of strange that for a ThinkPad to have the 4 modes, you know, you're able to do tablet mode, right? And one of the kind of odd things that when you're in tablet mode, it doesn't have that huge black line like I've seen with the Flex or the Yoga. And that black line kind of allows you to hold it, but you still have this border right here, right? So a combination of this border and this black border is what you're holding. So I have Photoshop right here, and I got my favorite character from One Piece, Luffy. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the opacity to, let's change the opacity to maybe 55%. Go to layer 1. Let's change it to pencil. Let's zoom in. Now, I didn't have any issues with the active pen. It is very accurate for what I've seen. I didn't have any stutter. Right now, I'm going to do it real fast for you guys and see. Like right now, I'm tracing real fast, but as you can see, all the lines are pretty straight. It's not like it's skipping anything. So I'm going to try to do this real quick for you guys. I mean, it's an added bonus rather than spending, I would say, what, $50, $60 for an active pen. This particular laptop comes with it. So it's a huge bonus. And I think the active lifetime for this guy, there's no pen. So when it dies out, you could just insert it inside the machine, and it's like a quick charge. I believe it takes maybe 20 to 30 seconds, and then you got like a full charge on it. Now, one of the things that kind of concerns me on the L380 Yoga is the heating. When I was using the tablet mode and I was using the active pen, I did find that this particular area was getting extremely warm. And I think the reason why it was really warm is because you got the vent system right here. That's where the vent, all that heat is just shooting up. Around the display, that's where it gets hot. Also, let's convert this guy back into a laptop mode. I also found out that the heat was also coming around this area, which is also where the vent is coming from, right? So those are the two areas that I was concerned the most, around here on the display, as well as right here on the keyboard. Okay, so it's able to handle Adobe products, especially like I was able to render and edit 4K without even creating proxies, even though I like to create proxies just for the hell of it. Because that's how my workflow is. I was able to use Photoshop with no problem, go online and blah, 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 do all that good stuff, right? The performance, right? To do all that stuff that I'm telling you guys, this guy has to have the particular specifications to perform really good. And it does. So let's right click on the taskbar and let's go to Task Manager. Awesome. And let's go to Performance and open that up, and let's go to the CPU. Now this particular laptop is rocking a quad-core Intel i5 8250 processor at 1.60 gigahertz. I think the max speed on the processor is around 3.4 gigahertz. That's pretty good. For memory, it only has 8 gigs. Now, it only has 8 gigs for this model that I've been testing out for you guys, right? It does have a solid-state drive, which is a Samsung solid-state drive, and the capacity is 256 gigs. Now, for the graphics card or the GPU, it's basically rocking an Intel Ultra HD Graphics 620, which is what you're going to get with the CPU, right? The 8250U is going to give you the Graphics 620. Okay, so this machine has the specifications, is able to handle a lot of programs, right? That's awesome. But how about the battery? Now, for all my laptops, I like to run PC Mark 8 3 times. And normally the test, it just constantly runs different programs until the battery dies. It dies out around 18%. And then I charge it up and I run it 2 more times. On the 4th time, I start writing down how long does the machine take to charge, as well as I take it home, 100% battery without a power supply, and I just use it like I normally use my laptops at home. Now, for test number 1, let's close the task manager up and let's look at test number 1. Now, PC Mark gave it 3 hours and 34 minutes. On the second test, it gave it 3 hours and 34 minutes. And on the last test, it took 3 hours and 60 minutes, close to 4 hours, right? So, this is the 3rd time, and I started writing down how long does the battery take to charge up. Now, 18% around 2 o'clock, and to get a full 100%, it took around an hour and 39 minutes. Okay, and that's not that bad. I would say 2 o'clock to 2:33, you could get around 50%, 69%. That's not bad. Now, for my 4th test at home, I did pretty good with this machine. I was able to get 5 hours and 23 minutes. And it really depends on how you're using it. Like for me, I started with 96%. It wasn't fully 100%. And I started around night. I stepped away between this timeline right here, 7:51 to 8:17. And I had about 53%. And me stepping away, it kind of like shut off. It went to like hybrid mode. But me losing 7% just stepping away, that was pretty serious. Around 10:20 at night, it hit 19%. It went to green. It started yelling at me around with the warning around 10:55, 10%. And it really was yelling at me around 11:12 at night with 6%. It completely shut down around 11:26 p.m. I mean, like really black. I wasn't able to turn it on. I had to get the power adapter to plug it in to charge it up. But 5 hours and 23 minutes is not that bad, but it really depends on how you're using the machine. Okay, so you know about the battery, you know about the performance, and you know about the specifications. Specifications are pretty damn good. And you're probably saying to yourself, all right, for those specifications, you're probably going to spend maybe like $1,500 for this guy, but you're going to have like a sucky battery. Well, let's look at the Lenovo site. And the retail price for this guy is $831.60, so it's under $1,000. So let's take a little closer deep into this particular machine. Let's review the current models that Lenovo is have on their site. As you can see, a lot of the machines are temporarily unavailable because they were selling like hotcakes. The most expensive one that they have right now is only $1,034. And the specifications that you're going to get on this machine is i5. I think that's the highest processor that you could get is only an i5. I don't think the L380 Yoga comes with an i7 processor. Looking at all this, i3 and i5 is the highest one that you could get. The highest clock speed that you could get on the processor is only 3.60. Primary operating system for all of the machines is Windows 10 Home. You're going to definitely get that 13.3 Full HD, IPS display, multi-touch, 8 gigs. Let's see the most expensive model, which is a little bit over $1,000. What's the highest memory that you could get? Highest memory is only 8 gigs. For storage, only 256 gigs. You're definitely going to get the ThinkPad Pen, which is a huge plus because it's already integrated in the case, right? For graphics, you're going to get the Ultra HD graphics for all of them. The fingerprint reader, none. You should give us that. Why is not an option? That sucks. That sucks. But, okay, don't get me wrong. It tells you 8 gigs, but I ran a scan on this particular machine, and you're able to max it out to 32 gigs. It has 2 banks, and only one is 8 gigs removable. So that's awesome. By default, this machine comes with 8 gigs. So that means I can remove this guy, slap in 2 16 gig sticks, and I have, 32 gigs. Awesome. Okay, like you guys saw on the Lenovo site, it looks like this L380 Yoga is selling like hotcakes. I kind of, the reason why is because, it's a combination between a Flex/Yoga and a ThinkPad, but still, I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm hesitant. I definitely, for myself, I won't buy this. The specifications is there for me to work with, with my Premiere, Illustrator, Photoshop. I'm capable of doing my work, my day-to-day work stuff. That's great. The battery life, I could stretch it, maybe get 6 hours, but it really depends on what I'm doing. When I find myself rendering a lot of big files and I don't want to get attached to, power, I want to be mobile. That's the whole point of a laptop, to be mobile. I did see the battery drain extremely fast. I did reduce the brightness on the display and did a couple of modifications on the performance so the battery could last a little longer, but still between 5 to 4.5 hours, that's what I got when I was mobile. All right. When I started doing light stuff, I was able to stretch it to maybe 5.5 to 6 hours. One of the things I do not like about the L380 is that it doesn't have a fingerprint scanner. I need that additional security layer. That's awesome. That's the whole point of a ThinkPad, security, right? I do like that it does come with a active pen. It is housed within the casing, and I think that's the reason why I forgot about it when I was doing the review for you guys. But it does work really well. I do find myself purchasing this if I was like a Photoshop designer or a photographer or an illustrator using InDesign, Illustrator, all that stuff. This will work great because you're able to convert it into a tablet and then use it with no problem. And that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed my review on the ThinkPad L380 Yoga. If you have any comments or concerns, leave them at the bottom. Don't forget about hitting that like button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.